Good afternoon from South Bend, week 2 of the DIY syllabus. If you missed week 1, my name is Jacob Titus. I'm a photographer in South Bend, Indiana. And I've been a photographer for a while, but I have never done any education or reading about the history or theory of photography. And it seems like that's a mistake. So I started reading this book by David Campany called On Photographs, and he goes photo by photo through a lot of the history of photography and mentions so many other books and photographers. And so I've been buying some books. They've been coming in the mail, photo books and art history books that you might have read in school if you studied photography. And I'm gonna read them and study and highlight and show up here every week with a short video sharing what I've learned. And so this is week 2. Fresh in the mail this week is this nice big book called Atget, about Atget. It's by John Zarkowski, and Atget was a Parisian photographer, and from what I understand, he was troubled by the development of Paris from like pre-modern to the modern city that we know today. And so he set about capturing a lot of the city and the beauty of old Paris. And so this book is an example of something that I would have read mentioned in here and got on eBay and found it. I haven't dove into it yet, but this is one of the books that we'll probably dive into here on the channel eventually. But what I want to talk about this week is that just a few hours after filming last week's video, I was at a coffee shop with a friend and we were reading David Campany's book, and we turned to this portrait of this man named Walter Benjamin by a photographer named Germaine Cruel. Here's the portrait. It is a sort of melancholic and sort of pensive portrait of Walter, and I had never heard of Walter Benjamin or Germaine Cruel. The photograph is from 1925, and the commentary starts by saying, Walter Benjamin's writings on photography from the 1920s and 1930s are among the most widely read and long-lasting, which was news to me. I had never heard of him or his writings, and so I got online and I found this book. It's called The Work of Art in the Age of Its Technological Reproducibility and Other Writings on Media by Walter Benjamin. So this is a collection of a bunch of essays. It's a nice looking book, a bunch of essays that he wrote on art and technology and photography being one of those things. And so 271 pages in, there's a few chapters on photography. The first one is called News About Flowers. The next one is called A Little History of Photography. And so the plan for this week is I'm going to read these essays, do some highlights, write down some quotes, and show up next week and we're gonna talk about it and see what we can learn from Walter Benjamin. And finally this week, I just wanna share a photograph that I captured here in South Bend. This is of the Michigan Street Bridge. It's coming out of Leaper Park as you go north out of the city. And I live on the corner, or one of the corners of this bridge. And so I've been capturing this bridge in different times of day and different seasons. And this was taken on a particularly cold day. I was setting out for a walk. This was right at the beginning of the walk. And it was so cold that you can see a little bit of snow in the picture, but the river was steaming. So there were these sort of plumes of steam coming off the river and creating this nice contrast against the underside of the bridge. And I loved it. And thanks for tuning in. That's all I have for you this week. And next week, we're gonna dive into Walter Benjamin.